truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome to the show. This is Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I'm in the WYSL studio with Bob Savage.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday.
Yeah, Friday, the day right before Saturday, which is awesome. I can't wait for the weekend. Looks like some more great weather.
Yeah. Boy, what a week it's been.
Yeah. No, it's been awesome. So what I want to talk about today, for those who are joining the show, you want to know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about things you can do instead of leaving New York State. We're also going to talk about why running for local elections and volunteerism is so important. And you might be wondering, well, what does volunteerism have to do with anything? What's that have to do with the show? Well, volunteerism is actually like a core principle of libertarianism. And, one of the things that I personally believe is that when people engage in volunteerism, that really shows how there's really no necessity for government force and things like taxes that, force you to pay for things that you would normally volunteer for anyways.
Goes really nicely with freedom too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But before we do, for those of you who are in definitely the radio radius of this show, and those of you online as well, there's something that I want to bring to your attention. It is an event going on this Monday, July 29th. Congressman Joe Morelli has put together a town hall on, wait for it, gun violence. And they want the community to come out and have a discussion on gun violence. I'm putting up the flyer for you guys right now to see online. It says, every day 100 lives are lost due to gun violence. We need to take real, meaningful steps to end this devastating cycle and keep our community safe. Please join me and participate in this important conversation. So, if you are familiar with Congressman Morelli, if you have just heard how this has been marketed, you better believe this is going to be a rally against your Second Amendment rights.
No, Joe wouldn't do something like that. No, he's like Kirsten Gillibrand. Tina Rudnick, which is actually her real name. He's a big proponent of guns. As long as they're locked up and you can't get ammo for them and they're useless.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one of those moments where you can choose to engage in activism. You can choose not to. So I'll kind of play out both scenarios. We'll start with the not activism part because that seems to be what most people prefer. So what Monday night could look like is you being at home, maybe with your family, enjoying family dinner, maybe grilling, enjoying some nice weather, maybe on Facebook complaining about how in New York State we keep losing our gun rights and how the federal government seems to keep creating more gun regulations. And on Tuesday morning, you can wake up and realize that complaining on social media didn't actually change anything. You're maybe singing an echo chamber of a bunch of other gun owners that say, yeah, this is terrible, and nothing happened. Or what you can do, 6:30 Monday night, you can go to the Irondequoit Public Library at 1280 Titus Avenue, and you can be a voice against whatever crazy thing they're going to peddle. And you can show them that the community does not want more gun regulation and that it's not necessary and that it doesn't actually prevent violence. Notice I didn't say gun violence because that's like saying car violence or something like that. It's hard to place violence with an object. It's people creating violence, and have that discussion, and don't be aggressive towards the community who's there, because chances are people are showing up, they just want things to stop, and you need to be the voice of reason, showing up and explaining this doesn't actually fix things. It certainly doesn't help our veterans community, and it doesn't help, with any of these other issues that they're going to bring up. Let me tell you what's going to happen if you don't show up, because this is what happens every time. After this event, Congressman Morelli will then probably hold a press conference. The media will probably be there. And what will be reported is, well, there was a community gathering about gun violence, and everybody there, the whole community, all overwhelmingly supported the idea of more regulations on a federal level and on a state level, and we must do something.
Yeah, that's a good point, because as is the case with a lot of these, quote, town hall meetings, unquote, they're not town hall meetings.
Yeah.
All they are is it's a stunt, basically. Mm-hmm. It's a trick and an excuse that they use, a pretense to land more gun regulations on us. I wonder if at the, quote, town hall, unquote, if anyone is permitted to ask a question or participate, or if questions have to be submitted in advance in writing. Because that's the way they stuff the ballot box.
So here's what you do need to do. You do need to call ahead to reserve your spot. Oh,
yeah.
So here's that phone number, guys. That's area code 585-232-4850. I'm going to give it to you again here in a second. That is the phone number that you need to call to reserve your spot for Monday, July 29th, so a couple days from now, 6:30 p.m. at the Irondequoit Public Library, 1280 Titus Avenue. Here's the phone number again for you, 585-232-4850. Call them, reserve your spot, show up, and be the voice of reason here. So that when, Channel 10, Channel 8, Channel 13 News, whoever is there is there recording, that the story that night isn't the whole community rallied together against gun violence and called for more gun regulation.
Yeah, you don't want to see this on your TV news.
Gee, Mr. Morelli, I'm a Republican, and I own 47 guns. And please come and take them. Please get them away from me, because I don't know. I just don't feel safe with them around anymore. So just get them. We've got to put a stop to gun violence.
Excuse me, but do you know that criminal activity is on the sharp decline in this country?
Mm-hmm. Has been for a long time.
Yeah, ever since more people have had guns. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is interesting. How when, people are armed, people are less likely to attack them, try to steal from them. It seems kind of logical, when you think about it.
Hard to figure, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the activism I'm asking you guys for today. If you live in the Rochester area, the Monroe County area, even the area around, Joe Morelli's district is sizable. He may be your congressperson. Even if he's not, his votes, the policies he pushes will impact you. He's a congressperson on a federal level. If the federal government pushes for additional gun regulation, which we've already seen 2 or 3 things come through, it's going to affect you whether you even live in New York State or not. So very, very important. Once again, success out of this event, in my mind, is that if the media reports it, they say something along the lines of, there was a rally against gun violence or a town hall against gun violence, and the community really pushed back on gun regulation while other parts of the community thought it was the answer. If we get both those messages out there, great, perfect. What would make me really disappointed is if the news just says, yep, nobody showed up in opposition. That to me would be a problem.
Which there's, with some media outlets, I'm not, present company accepted here in Rochester, New York, I'm sure. But you would get that anyway, even if people did show up. I'm trying to be defeatist about this, but you got to have eyes wide open here, folks.
And that's why hopefully you show up, maybe you record stuff with your cell phone, and then you can comment on those media outlets who are just blatantly lying to the public and saying, hey, I was there. People are very outspoken against this. What are you reporting? Is it you're just fake news, and just call them out on it. I don't have an issue going in the comment section and calling them out on it. And I don't have a problem sending a note to the editor or calling them up and saying, hey, you should probably update your story because it's wrong and infactual. And I have had places actually update their article and re-edit it after doing that. So it's just another thing that we can do to make sure that the information that's out there is more accurate. All right, guys, we're going to take a break here on Radio Free New York. When we come back, we're going to talk about what you can do instead of leaving New York State. We'll talk about it on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service.
Last spot.
Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're going to talk about an issue here. It's not a left-wing thing. It's not a right-wing thing. It's an American thing, and that is the idea that people feel like they need to leave New York State. And this actually came up. There's this thing circulating, which I've actually heard this probably my entire life at one point or another. And it's kind of funny. I've heard it in different parts along my life, but lately it's been really prominent, and I want to talk about it. And it is the phrase, "If you don't like it here, leave." So this is something that circulated definitely on a national level. I think probably the first time I heard it might have been when I was a teenager, in my parents' house from my parents. If you don't like it here, you don't like my rules, you can leave.
It was like the hippie thing, wasn't it? Like 1960s, love it or leave it. That was the response to protests for the Vietnam War.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't around then, so I wasn't hearing it then, but that's definitely a possibility where it started. But people are kind of upset about it now. So like I said, I've heard this my whole life, but I think it has a slightly different meaning to people, and depending on who's saying it, they mean different things. So in some cases, we're talking about New York State. In other cases, we're talking about people coming in, immigrants potentially, who want to change the way of life here in America. We might be talking about it, perceiving it as that, and it being something else, but it's all over. It's becoming a controversial thing. So what I wanted to do here is bring up this image that was circulating around. I shared it earlier today to see what you guys had in the comments. And so I'll read it to those of you on the air, those of you on the live stream. You'll see it here. It says, if you hate your country, or if you're not happy here, you can leave. But then it's got you can leave crossed out. And it gives a list of other things that you can do. So you can run for office. You can donate to a candidate you believe in. You can protest. You can call your representative. You can read the newspaper instead of Twitter. That one's, it's just, I don't know if you're going to find anything better in the newspaper than Twitter, but that's debatable. You can volunteer. You can donate to a cause you believe in. You can stay here and fight. And last, but definitely not least, you can vote in every election. So when I saw this, I wanted to share it with you guys. And of course, depending on people's leanings, how they felt, how they read that statement, there were a ton of different comments, which some of them were kind of like disappointing, right? But that's social media. But the diversity of comments, I think, was really good. And I'm sure over the next few days, especially over the weekend, people will pop up Facebook and they'll put in their 2 cents. Because some people read this and they're like, yeah, this is a national level issue. Other people are like, this is a New York issue. Other people are like, this is a local issue. And then every once in a while, somebody will be like, this is racist. And then, I was like, I didn't catch that one, but, please explain. So we'll see, how that hashes out. But I wanted to talk about it because, like I said, this isn't a left thing. This isn't a right thing. This is an issue that Americans are struggling with right now today. Whether it's we live in New York, and literally somebody said that, like, oh, if you don't like gun control in New York, leave New York. It's like, it's actually not that simple. I don't want to leave New York. And people are like, well, if you don't like New York, why don't you leave? It's like, I actually love New York. I just don't like my government. And therefore, I'm going to fight to change my government, fight to make things better. The thing that people are upset about on a national level, and this is going to tie into the rest of the show that I think is really, really important. Many people were like, yeah, but if you come to this country and you don't like how it's running, why did you come here? Go somewhere else where it runs how you like it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 separate issues here, I think. As you're referring to the national issue, you're talking kind of about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, for example, who fundamentally attacks American institutions and American society as corrupt and in need of radical change.
Sure.
And so that's, I think that's the impetus for a lot of the, love it or leave it. I'm not defending it I'm not criticizing it either. I'm just saying that's what that's all about. And I think President Trump tapped into a feeling of frustration that people have that, why did you come here if you think that America is such an evil, corrupt place? That's one. Then on the other hand, you have in New York State where you have government, Andrew Cuomo, telling conservatives that if you're
not welcome here,
you're not welcome in New York if you don't embrace his political ideology. Yeah. So it's really kind of 2 separate issues.
It is, but it kind of falls under the same phrase, if you will, the same idea. So I bring that up to say some people, especially on the national level, where we're talking about this, are saying, yeah, just go where it's like this. And I understand that feeling. I do. And at times feel that way. But I take a step back because I realize the reason that people feel that way is because somebody else took action and activism to elevate themselves to a point where they could suggest those changes. And that's really what I want to talk about today is how is it that somebody finds their way to office that you disagree with that much that you feel like they need to leave or you need to leave for a better life? And that's really why I want to get into today, because yeah, you're right. There's people in Congress who, you know, people feel like they're really attacking their way of life. They're really changing it. And they look at them and maybe they perceive them as an outsider. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, you know, and I'm not necessarily targeting anybody specifically, kind of talking a little generally here. But what's happening is we have people who are now elected in office that the people don't feel represent them. And they're now pushing for change that you feel doesn't represent you at all. And you're like, wait, no, if you want to change this, like go somewhere else where it's like this. And of course, there's lots of examples where maybe it doesn't work at all in other countries, and people are really afraid of you know the fabric of our country being torn and ruined and damaged. So I'm going to encourage everybody today. This whole radio show is about activism, guys. In case you didn't pick up on it, this is me pushing you on this beautiful, beautiful Friday, you know, right before the weekend, to contemplate what can you do to make it so that you don't feel that way, to make it so your family doesn't feel that way. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things that a lot of people are doing that hasn't been effective is posting on social media in an echo chamber. You know, it's great if you have a group on Facebook where everybody agrees with you and you post in there and they go, yeah, that's totally right. And they a little heart, smiley face, thumbs up, like it and everything. But that's not bringing the change we need.
Does nothing.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah, all it does is, you know, I mean, it gives you the feeling, the misleading notion that you're affecting change when actually you're just talking to 12 or 15 people.
Exactly. Yeah. 12 or 15 people who happen to agree with you. I mean, it does maybe one thing, and that's maybe boost some morale. But what I see a lot of times is it actually just makes people angrier, you know, because you're like, well, everybody on the internet agrees with me. I don't understand why there's no change. It's like, well, because you're all sitting on your butt on the internet, you know, not out there enacting change.
In many cases, not going out and voting, not registering to vote, just complaining.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, today I was at the post office dropping off some mail. Happened to see there was a pile of voter registration cards there. So, of course, I grabbed a handful. I popped it open, and sure enough, it was the up-to-date version with Libertarian Party printed on there.
Yay!
So very happy to see that. Yep. Very excited for that. And, you know, I'll give a little plug. If you are not registered to vote, you need to get registered to vote. I would love it if you registered to the Libertarian Party. However, I just want you registered to vote. You could register as unaffiliated. Please don't confuse that with Independence Party. Independence is a party. It does not mean you're a registered independent. If you want to be independent, you should probably just register to the Libertarian Party or other. You know, those are the two most independent. But yeah, please get a voter registration card. Get registered to vote. You cannot vote if you're not registered to vote. It's something that I actually often feel very conflicted by, the fact that you have to be registered to vote. That's not to say I don't understand the process or why it exists, but I'm one of those people. I firmly believe that, you know, there should be no registration process for your pistol permit. You know, you shouldn't have to have a permit to own a pistol. And so, you know, by that same logic, I also feel like if you're a citizen, you shouldn't have to register to vote. You shouldn't have to worry about what party you're registered to. You should be able to show up and vote if you're a citizen. Now, of course,
what do you think about voter ID?
You know, voter ID is hard because I don't know that there's any ID today that actually proves that you're a citizen. You know what I mean? Like there's like driver's license. You can get a driver's license as a green card holder. You can now, I think, as a just undocumented illegal immigrant, get a driver's license in New York.
Well,
right?
yeah, that's I don't know. That's kind of in flux right now. We got a lot of lawsuits pending about that.
Yeah.
Somebody might get an injunction.
Are they printing them now though? Or are they already doing it? Well,
I don't think it's taken. I don't think the Cuomo green light law has taken effect yet. I think was it supposed to be October? I'll look that up in the break.
Yeah. So I'm
could be an injunction before that though.
Yeah, I'm always conflicted about those sort of things because I think yes, like you should have some way to prove that you're authorized, or that you're a citizen. But I can't think of any form of ID today, even a social security card you can get as a green card holder. How do you prove that you're a citizen? I mean, how do you know?
There's got to be a way to do that.
I have no clue.
You can't get on an airplane without proving who you are.
Yeah, but it doesn't say if you're a citizen or not. So that's the thing. So, or maybe when they scan it, it pops up. I don't know. So guys, we've got the break coming up. You can hear the music, obviously. When we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of running for office right here on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network
coming back
and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL. AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're talking about just a whole slew of things, really. But today what we're going to talk about is the importance of running for office, and especially local office. You know, every bit of public service can and should be important. I truly believe that politicians have really corrupted and destroyed the meaning of public service. But it's up to you as listeners to decide to get engaged and bring public service back to what it was meant to be. So going back to the theme of, if you don't like it, get out. You know, that's basically it. I don't want to get out of New York State. I really, really love New York State. It's where my family is. It's where I grew up. I love going to things like Naples Grape Festival, Hilton Apple Festival, you know, hiking in the Adirondacks. It's just such a beautiful state. I don't want to feel like I'm being pushed out of this state. So that means I have to do something about it. And that something is supporting people who are running for office that I believe will make that change, whether that's through my time, my finances, maybe both. Volunteering for causes that I think is important. We're going to talk about volunteerism later in the show. But really taking action. I don't want to just sit in a chair behind a keyboard and share memes on the internet. And, you know, sure, they're funny. And I do that. Absolutely. I don't want that to be the extent of my activism, because at the end of the day, that doesn't reach the people that need to be reached. That doesn't actually bring about change. It does feel good. Sometimes it lightens the conversation. Sometimes it darkens the conversation. You know, it really depends. But I want to bring about change that is actually meaningful. And to do that, or actually not even to do that, let's take a step back. Just imagine how different New York State could look today if we got just two things done in the state legislature. The first being term limits. If we got legitimate term limits in our state legislature, all of our state lawmakers, and if we got real campaign finance reform. Could you imagine how different New York State would look today if we just got just those two things done? And then think about that on a federal level. Imagine if there were term limits for Congress and actual campaign finance reform for Congress.
Imagine if there's term limits for every federal employee.
No. Yeah. I mean, the New York State and the United States would look totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we get to that point? You know, I actually spoke with a New York assemblyman last week, and he said he's been pushing for term limits ever since he was elected, and that they don't even allow it to come to the floor for a vote.
Of course not.
Because they don't want anybody to see where people stand on it. And they said, you know, people would be too embarrassed and terrified to vote against it, you know, so they would have to vote for it, and they don't want that. So they just don't even allow it to come to the floor. So that's an issue. That's a serious issue, because somebody wants to propose ethics and everybody's like, oh, no, we don't want to vote against it, so we just can't have the vote. That's a serious issue. So that's why I say local elections are so important. They're so important because that's government closest to the people. You talk about your town council person. You talk about your mayor, your county legislature, your zoning board, like all of these things. These are people that live in your community that you can actually talk to face to face. They should be accessible. They may not be, but they should be. And they represent a much smaller population of constituents. So I would encourage everybody listening to the show to look for something that you think you could bring positive change to. That might be your zoning board. That might be your town council. And if you're listening to this show, you probably believe that competition is good. You probably believe that. And I'm making kind of a broad stroke assumption here, but I think many people who listen to the show think that when competition comes about, especially in a free market, which we don't quite have today, sad to say, but we're trying to get there, competing products usually turn out a good product. When companies have to compete with each other, somebody's going to have quality and better service. And for the other companies to stay in business, they now have to create better quality and better service. And they had to keep going back and forth on that to compete.
Yeah, it's the free market. And by the way, the progressives understand this localism thing.
Sure.
George Soros and his all of his open society organizations like Think Progress and People for the American Way and all these people, they go around, they organize, and this is why you see in our local communities that used to be, paragons of conservative thought in upstate New York. You're thinking about your small towns, like right around here.
Yeah.
This is why you're seeing things happening like massive wind farms and solar farms and stuff like that. Because what happens is the little Soros organized organizations go, first of all, they back candidates. They come up with money. And secondly of all, they put all of these ridiculous, anti-fracking, for example, that kind of initiative. Yep. They put all these things up for vote, and they do all the homework. They
Rick from Greece.
The groundwork for people to for people to oppose this, and then while everybody else is sitting at home watching TV because you don't go to the town board meetings, these wacky things get voted into the policy gets made legally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's totally true. And it only happens. What's that quote? The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Yep.
We're living that. It sounds like we got a caller on the line.
I think we do.
Yeah. Who do we have?
Rick.
Rick from, is it Greece or Gates?
It's Greece.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, good. I just wanted to let you guys know. Thank you for that public service announcement, but I called Joe Morelli's office, and it's already filled. And not for nothing, I hate to be like, I'm a retired police officer, and this is a big issue to me because I've spoke at some local churches in regards to, the lawful right to bear arms. I just think we need like sheepdogs out there in society when the police get there, but they don't always get there in time. And it's such a huge issue. And what scares me about what's, you even saying that is, I don't know, the other part of me wants to say that this could be one of those stacked decks things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did say, or the person from the office, because you had to RSVP with with Morelli's office, said that they're going to have another one in August. And I just wanted to pass that on because, like I said, people don't understand, but most cops, other than the International Association of Chiefs of Police, they support people's right to bear arms. We know that an armed citizenry is actually more protective of our rights and of the people.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point because I hear that from officers all the time that say, no, we wish more people were armed, obviously as responsible gun owners because, response times aren't instantaneous.
And crime goes down. When people are free to carry firearms, in a responsible way, crime goes down.
Exactly. And like yesterday, luckily for us, the police department as a retiree, we have HR 218 available to us, which allows us to certify to carry nationwide. And I truly believe that, if we have people that serve for 20 years in law enforcement that can be out there in the public as an extra set of eyes, it's almost like having our own militia to protect the citizenry in the rest of the state. So I just applaud RPD because they continue to offer that to us so that we can requalify every year and be able to carry nationwide. I just wish that those reciprocal agreements occurred for all law-abiding citizens because at one of our RPELR meetings, I brought up the fact that, we don't have to worry about, the SAFE Act because, we'll be all set there. And I pointed out, why are we any different than any other citizen in the U.S.? We should deserve, if they're law-abiding, to have the same right to do that nationwide. That's just my point, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate the call. By the way, that line is now open at 585-346-3000. And conversely, by the way, Andrew, any gun-free zones that are out there are openly declared to be gun-free zones are basically killing fields.
Oh, yeah.
Put up a sign that says, come kill us.
Yep. And people brought that up on this Morelli thing. They're like, wait, is the is the library a gun-free zone? Like that's
it is.
It is. Yeah, no, absolutely. And for the caller who called in, thank you for sharing that sentiment, because this is something I talk about very often, that we shouldn't be restricting people's rights. I wish everybody had the opportunity to have a national carry. I think that that's so important, and I think that it's really difficult for me as a citizen to look and see that my rights vary depending on what state I'm in. That I just have a lot of trouble with that. And I just so happen to live in the least freest state in the nation. And that's just troublesome to me.
Yeah. By the way, I'm handed a note here by Bob D'Angelo. Livingston County Sheriff's Department offers a sheriff's ID. The cost for 15 and under is $10, 16 to 64, $15. And for old guys like me, 65 plus, it's free. And you need to bring your birth certificate and proof of address, like a utility bill, to the sheriff's office.
There you go. And for those who might be joining the show with the last segment, just so this kind of connects for you and makes sense, we were talking about the idea that you need government identification to have access to certain rights, whether that's a purchase of a firearm, your right to vote, that sort of thing. And we were talking about, the cost of those identifications, and also none of those seem to mention if you're a citizen or not. So it's kind of a question of, how do you know? All right, guys, we're going to take one more break here, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about volunteerism here on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Ready to get wet? Come to the Soak Zone at Seabreeze. Catch the crazy curves of the new Twister water slide. Take a little plunge on the new pipeline. Plus, do all your favorites: the dumping bucket, the raceway slide, aqua blasters, and more. Come get soaked at the new Soak Zone. There's so much water fun so close to home.
Come get your summer at Seabreeze.
Get your tickets online at seabreeze.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York, our last segment of the day. We're going to talk about the importance of volunteerism. So one of the things I actually want to do here, too, I want to welcome those of you who are listening to our live stream. I apologize. My chat client has been updating, and I did not see all the awesome comments in here. So what I'll have to do, probably for Monday's show, I'll go through the comments. I see there's at least one question here that I really want to respond to. I don't think there's enough time in the show. So Marcus, stay with me on Monday. We'll definitely get to your question. It's a very important question. And I want to welcome Barbara to the show, Marcus, Nate, and Dan. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I see there's other people in here, but I can't see your name. Definitely appreciate your guys' support and your questions. I will definitely make sure I get to the questions next show. Once again, I apologize for missing those. All right, so let's talk about volunteerism. What's so important about volunteerism? You know, our country was really put together by communities volunteering and helping each other. And we've really lost our way, I believe, over decades and decades of allowing government to fill the role of volunteerism that used to occur in our communities. And if you even look at nonprofits and even the church and various religions, you know, they used to be the primary providers of a lot of government services that you're now being taxed for. And interestingly enough, these organizations are tax exempt. I actually have a problem with tax exempt organizations. That's something we can talk about on a totally different show because that's a very lengthy topic. But I think unequal application of taxes is a problem in this country.
I have a problem with income taxes.
Yeah, I definitely have a problem with income taxes as well. But once again, the tax issue, another show. We'll definitely talk about that. You know, nonprofits used to be ran based off of community support, community volunteerism, and the donations and generosity of their community. And not to say that they aren't, but the overwhelming majority of them, most, if not all of their funding actually comes from the government now. And what they do is they lobby for more government so that they can raise funds so that they can do more, air quotes, good things. And that's not to say that nonprofits don't do good things. There are many good nonprofits out there. They do wonderful things. However, in order for them to exist, their funding usually has to increase year by year, and your taxes have to increase year by year as well. Here's the thing. Say a local politician or even a statewide politician actually wants to do the right thing. Say they want to make government smaller. They go out, they start looking for places to cut funding that happens to fall on some nonprofit. Guess what happens? Huge outrage. The small non-for-profit or large non-for-profit, they rally together people, they start lobbying, and they pin down that politician for actually doing the right thing and turn the community against them, and push to expand government. And here's the thing. Like I said, some nonprofits are absolutely amazing. They do great work. They do great things in the community. Then there's others that at best they're shady. You know, they're just shady organizations. And my true belief is this. You should not ever be forced to support a nonprofit or service that you believe in or don't believe in. Nobody should be forcing you to do that. You should be able to choose what you fund and how you fund them, whether that's through acts of volunteerism, providing them a service, providing them funds, you know. So this is where volunteerism is so important to me, where it comes into play. You should be able to voluntarily give up your time or resources. This could be money. This could be something else, donated product, donated, you know, anything, for causes you support. And this could be a nonprofit that is important, that provides a service to you, whether that's rehab, family services, food services, healthcare services, childcare, women's health, helping homeless people, helping poor people, whatever your thing is that's important to you, that's what you should be able to engage in. It could be cleaning your street, shoveling out your fire hydrant. Although I think they made that like a regulation. I think you have to do that now. Another government force thing. I always shovel mine out, but you know, that's one of those things. It could be helping watch the neighborhood kids or supporting somebody who's running for office. Any of those things, those can be your volunteerism. But once again, should be your choice, shouldn't be funded by the government, and definitely shouldn't be government forcing you to do that. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, I like nonprofits. They're good things. What are you talking about, Andrew? What do you mean? Let me give you an example of something that tends to be a big controversial issue today. It's definitely a left versus right issue and everybody in between. And that's the topic of abortion and Planned Parenthood. Okay, so we'll bring that. So this is an example of a nonprofit that you might totally disagree with, or maybe you agree and support. Either one. I'm not going to talk about the polarity of the topic. I'm just going to talk about government forcing you to pay for it. So depending on where you live and depending on what Planned Parenthood is around you and what government programs you have in place, your tax dollars may be paying for Planned Parenthood and possibly abortions. Now, you may have a religious belief against that. You may have a moral belief about that. You might not care. I don't know. Only you know. With that being said, government forces you to pay for that service and that nonprofit, regardless of your belief, whether moral or religious, you have to pay for it. Now, here's the thing. Maybe there's some things that Planned Parenthood does that you support and you like. Maybe that's true. Shouldn't it be your choice to donate or volunteer to Planned Parenthood without government holding a gun to your back saying you must do this? If not, we'll fine you, we'll take away your home, take away your property. Yeah, I think that you should have the choice to do that. The same way I think that if you are totally appalled by Planned Parenthood and you think it's totally wrong and you want nothing to do with it, you also should have the choice to say, no, I'm not funding that.
Yeah, you know what? It's even worse than that because not only is Planned Parenthood all about killing babies, and it is. I mean, that's what its primary function is. It's also a huge campaign tool and basically a political activist organization that supports Democrat candidates, particularly the far left ones. So it's much more than an abortion factory.
Sure.
And it's much worse than an abortion factory. Oh, by the way, we promised you earlier in the show, I keep forgetting to remind people about this. The green light law in New York takes place 180 days after passage. So that's going to be like around December 14th.
December. Okay. Right after the election, ironically.
Isn't that funny?
Interesting. Yeah. So, so here's exactly what I'm talking about. The idea that government shouldn't force you to be involved with nonprofits because they might be supporting candidates you don't like, right? That's entirely possible too, but it's your money out of your paycheck being used in ways that you have no say in whatsoever. So how could this be better? How could this change? Well, if government wasn't funding nonprofits, all that goes away. Now, I know for some people that's really scary because there's some nonprofits that you probably really love and you think that they're really important. Well, if government wasn't taking 30 to 60 cents on the dollar of your income, you would have one of two things, either more money or maybe you'd work less and you'd have more time. Either of those things you could put into the nonprofit of your choice that you care about, that you support.
Yeah, by the way, there's a real simple calculus here. Just check this out. Every dollar that goes out of your money that you've earned through the sweat of your brow, every dollar that goes to government is a little piece of your freedom that you'll never get back.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true. And that could be freedom of simply choice to choose how that money's spent. It could be freedom in terms of literally paying somebody to restrict your rights. It goes all over the board. So I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Andrew, nobody's going to do that. People are selfish. Without government to force people to do the right thing and donate at gunpoint, no one will do it. I tell you what, that's just simply not true. I've worked with so many nonprofits, and what I've always found is that people want to give back to their community, and it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they're involved in something bigger than themselves. But also, I find that when volunteers leave an organization, it is almost always because they need to work more hours at their day job to pay their bills. And if we weren't stripping everybody of so much of their money through taxes, we'd actually have more volunteers, people with more time to actually engage in what's important to them in their community. So how do we get the ball rolling? What's the answer? Because we can't just overnight this. It would be cool and everything, but realistically, that'll never happen. It's called a charitable choice credit. very first thing you do, you start allowing citizens and constituents to choose where $500 of their taxpayer money goes every year. You get to direct that to a nonprofit organization within your community, within your county. And what's going to happen? Well, the nonprofits are going to start going to you, lobbying to your interests, to what's important to you, because they want your $500 instead of lobbying the government, which means the service that's really important to you, maybe that's rehab. Maybe you've got somebody who got in trouble in your family. Maybe it's family services. Who knows? You then now have nonprofits competing for the care and compassion you want to see out of a nonprofit, making you the end customer, making those nonprofits better. And guess what? Taking that money out of government and putting it into your community. After 5 or 10 years, guess what? Why would government collect that money anyways? It's going to the nonprofits in your community. Government stops taking the money, they stop being the middleman, and you give directly to your charities, to your nonprofits, community organization of your choice. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. I look forward to talking with you guys on Monday.
Shopping for a used car, but hate that uncomfortable feeling you get not knowing anything about its history? Well, here's how Patrick Buick GMC can help. It's simple, and it's called Upfront Used Cars, a complete history report.